Now, when you're navigating in a world that is mostly covered by oceans, one of the best ways to find your way around is to simply locate a landmark and then move around it. Well, for a ton of players from the world of Subnautica, that landmark is the crashed Aurora ship, a mysterious vessel that the player uses to arrive on the planet and that explodes shortly after crash landing in the crater. Well, in today's video, we will be taking a look at everything we know about this ship. I'll be telling you about its original mission as well as its secret mission, what it looks like, what its crew composition looked like, what facilities it houses, and any other interesting information that I'm able to dig up from the game. Now, of course, an important disclaimer here, this video will contain spoilers from the story and the world of Subnautica, so if you don't want to have any of that spoiled, I strongly recommend clicking off the video and coming back to it later. Before we begin, I also want to say that I did originally plan to make a combination video for the Aurora and for all of the life pods, but after seeing the amount of information that we can cover here, I decided to rather split them into two separate videos. Now, with all of that out of the way, prepare your laser cutter, get that radiation suit on, and let's go. Now, first of all, looking at the Aurora, it doesn't take a genius to figure out that it's a spaceship. However, we can go a bit deeper than that. According to the PDA, the Aurora is a long-range capital ship that is owned by Altera, measuring at approximately 1,280 meters from the very front all the way to the thrusters, capable of accommodating 150 people with the operation time for 3 years. Looking at it from the outside, while we can't discern much, we can see that it's mostly oval in shape, with a gray, white, and yellow color scheme that rounds off into more gray and some luminescent green parts all the way at the back. Speaking about the back, that is where the majority of the thrusters are located, except for two small ones which can be found at the bottom, and at the very top, where you could presume the ship was operated from, there is also what seems to be a hangar or a bay of some sort that would probably be used to release some kind of a vehicle, being labeled with gates from 1 all the way to 100. But let's be honest, you all know what this ship looks like. What you want to talk about is the backstory. Now, originally, according to the normal plan, this ship would start out in a space dock at the edge of Altera space, make hundreds of consecutive phase gate jumps through 9 different trans-government authorities, and arrive at the far side of the Ariadne arm in approximately 3 months' time. From there, the command crew, which was 23 members strong, will pilot the ship beyond the final phase gate, and approximately 18 months later, they would arrive in the next solar system, where they would begin construction on a new phase gate. According to the estimates, this would be a multi-trillion operation that would take approximately 6 months for the construction period, with a crew of additional 85 engineers, 40 support crew, and 9 passengers. What the majority of the crew didn't know, however, is that there was another, more secret mission to the Aurora that only a few select individuals from the command team were given information on. See, approximately 13 months after departing, the Aurora was supposed to make a jump around planet 4546b, the place where they last heard the distress signal of the Degassi crew, and as the Aurora was carrying on board a Mongolian emissary, Joki Kisar, they were tasked with potentially rescuing anyone from the crew who was left alive, or simply confirming the fate of the crew that would aid Altera's diplomatic efforts with the Mongolian councils. Now, as you all know, this secret plan didn't go too well for them, as upon approaching planet 4546b, the ship was struck with what we later learned was the large alien gun on one of the islands, which eventually made the Aurora crash onto the planet. There is a little bit more we can learn here. For example, that the average long-range transmission delay from the Aurora to their home base was approximately 8 hours, which would mean that immediate response would be impossible, and also supposedly that just after receiving the distress signal, the people at home base realized that Aurora was in fact running on factory settings, which from their tone makes it sound really bad and could be an explanation to why a ton of the pods didn't deploy. We can learn a little bit more about the exact moment of impact from the black box data of the Aurora, where a high velocity energy pulse is first detected on the planet's surface. An emergency distress signal is immediately sent to the Altera headquarters via a long-range comm relay. The ship detects the impact, at which point it realizes that the life pod base on starboard side are completely compromised, whether due to the impact or bad settings, as well as a breakdown in any more outgoing communications. The emergency evacuation is initiated, playing the hull failure imminent message, which the player can hear at the start of the game.
Hull failure imminent. All personnel abandon ship.
Manual piloting is transferred to Captain Hollister, and life pods 1 to 25 are successfully launched. After impacting the planet, the drive core shield of the Aurora was compromised, and only 8 life pods were detected due to bounce back on the planet's surface. After this point, the Aurora is barely able to monitor any functions anymore, and the black box cuts out. Now, as I'm sure you've all experienced, the Aurora has suffered some pretty serious damage to its drive core after crashing down, which will eventually, after a few in-game days, result in a quantum detonation that can in fact kill you if you decide to go too close to it. This detonation occurs in the front end of the ship, which also opens up for exploration and releases a large amount of radiation into the surrounding areas. Now at this point we could also make the theory that it is due to the impact of the ship that so many Reaper Leviathans are located in the area, because we do know that they are attracted by loud sounds, but it could also be for just a much simpler reason, and that would be the Aurora smashing what used to be their natural biome previously. Now I'm not going to go into too much detail into what kind of weapons and tools you can find on the board of the Aurora. However, as far as facilities that you can visit, there is a laboratory, there is the Cargo Bay 3, however, because of its number, it is implied that there are several cargo bays in fact. There is the Seamoth Bay, the Locker Room, the Prawn Suit Bay, the Administration Office, the Living Quarters where most of the crew would hang out, and the Drive Room, which is in fact where the Dark Matter Ion Drive Core V8 engine is located at. Now it should be noted that to explore most of these places you will need a whole bunch of equipment, including the radiation suit, especially before you repair the drive core, as well as the propulsion cannon to move objects out of the way, the laser cutter to open locked doors, and the fire extinguisher to get yourself through fire. Now essentially, that is all of the information that the game gives us on the Aurora and its mission right off the bat. However, there are just a few small snippets here and there that we can learn just by digging a little bit deeper. Now even though I did list all of the facilities within the Aurora that you can visit, there are a few others that are simply mentioned that were, presumably, located somewhere else around the ship, those being a virtual cinema, an anti-gravity gym, several VR suites, and a number of canteens to allow for a healthy and balanced diet. It should also probably be noted here that at the time of crash, the Aurora ship was in fact overloaded, considering that a standard Altera long-range capital ship is supposed to house 150 people, and in fact Aurora's crew was 157 people strong. With the same point, we could also probably bring up the worrying statistic that even though the game only says that the starboard life pod bays were compromised, only a measly number of 25 life pods actually launches successfully, which even if we multiply that by 2 for having the same amount of life pods on either side, still wouldn't give you enough life pods to accommodate everyone in the crew. Technically speaking, every life pod has 2 seats, or more likely room for 2 people, so the only way this could work is simply if one side of the Aurora had way more life pod bays than the other one. And finally, just to end this video off, when you reach the captain's quarters door and you have to type in the code 2679, if you take the third letter for each number of the code on the number pad, it actually spells out Corey, which is a reference to Subnautica's art director, Corey Strader. But with that, I'm going to end the video off, and I hope you guys enjoyed and learned at least something new about the magnificent world of Subnautica. If you did, maybe consider leaving a like, commenting, or subscribing. All of those would be very much appreciated. And if you have a theory that you would like to cover, or some points that I missed that you think people would find interesting, I strongly encourage you to leave those down in the comments below as well. I would very much like to read them. Now with that, I want to wish you a beautiful rest of the day, and I'll see you in whatever next video I make. Bye bye.